of young footballers chasing history on European soil. From organized crime to artificial intelligence, from flooded streets to our football dreams. You've got 5 stories, 5 big questions. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. First, the top headlines. Prime Minister Modi arrives in Melbourne, set to meet Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese for bilateral talks. Visit is going to provide fresh momentum to cooperation in trade, defense cooperation, and of course, critical minerals. The Enforcement Directorate issues orders to freeze Trinamool Congress's bank deposits worth 440 crore rupees in Kolkata. Action follows the ongoing money laundering probe into financial transactions linked to the TMC's bank accounts. What does that mean for Mamata Banerjee? Well, only time will tell. Torrential rains triggered flash floods and mudslides in the Chenab Valley's Doda district, damaging houses and shops alike. The flash floods and mudslides have hit the Thatri town particularly. Aerial visuals of the same following a cloudburst in the area. The DRDO conducts successful flight test of Pinaka long-range guided rocket at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur. Rajnath Singh congratulates the DRDO, the Indian Army, describing it as a major milestone in indigenous design and development capability for long-range guided rockets. US President Donald Trump warns Iran yet again, says we may hit Iran again tonight, take over Kharg Island. That's our top focus tonight, because for years they have been amongst the most feared names in organized crime, one operating from India, the other moving across international borders and operating from outside. Together, the names Lawrence-Bishnoi-Goldy Brar, they've come to symbolize a criminal network that investigators say have stretched far beyond just mere extortion and contract killings. Tonight, however, the story is no longer just about these two gangsters. It's about the machinery that allegedly kept that criminal empire alive. Operation Hardball. After years-long investigation, American authorities have unveiled and decoded and exposed the details of Operation Hardball, one of the biggest crackdowns on transnational organized crime involving alleged Indian origin gangs. And the numbers themselves are staggering. We're talking about a total of 37 people accused, a Punjab SHO that is wanted by the US officials as part of those 37 in several indictments, 3 of those, 3 separate criminal syndicates, thousands of kilograms of narcotics that's been recovered and seized, weapons, cash, multiple arrests, and investigators claiming that parts of these networks continue to function even while some of their alleged masterminds are lodged inside Indian prisons. According to the US federal indictments, these syndicates are accused of operating across the United States, Canada, and India, allegedly engaging in racketeering, targeted killings, political assassinations, extortion, drug trafficking, and organized violence. Investigators also claim that the networks preyed on members of the Indian diaspora, allegedly threatening families back home using fear as currency and violence as leverage. But perhaps the most explosive allegation is this: that organized crime did not merely survive incarceration, it allegedly adapted behind prison walls. The indictments suggest that jailed gang leaders continued to influence criminal operations from behind bars through a network of outside operatives, a network of communication channels, and alleged facilitators, which naturally raises another uncomfortable question. Who kept those channels open? Who kept the Bishnoi chain alive? Were prison systems compromised? Did corrupt officials become silent enablers? A question about was there an alleged nexus between gangsters, prisons, and individuals inside the law enforcement ecosystem? These are allegations that investigators are now attempting to establish through evidence that have been gathered over several years. Another important development also changes the larger geopolitical conversation, because now the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, has clearly said it has found no evidence linking the government of India or Indian officials to the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a statement that marks a significant shift after years of diplomatic tension surrounding this particular case. So, the debate tonight is not merely about geopolitics, it's also about the organized crime, how it has been functioning, about how modern criminal syndicates operate across continents, about whether prison walls are enough to stop these gang empires, and about whether the real battle is actually not outside the prisons but inside the system itself. Let's unpack Operation Hardball. Mr. Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP, Karnataka, with us on the broadcast, and Mr. KV Prasad, senior journalist, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Prasad, you see, let's unpack Operation Hardball. There are several takeaways from that. Sacramento, Los Angeles, all those coordinated raids that have been taking place, large amounts of cocaine, heroin, arms that have been recovered and seized, several arrests that have been made, and an SHO link right here in Punjab. What, according to you, is the biggest takeaway from Operation Hardball before we move in and bring in ADGP Sahai into this?
Well, I think, Kabir, the biggest issue that we see here is that finally, after so many years of painstaking investigations and with the cooperation of Indian authorities, we have come, the US Department of Justice has come out with this report.
Yeah.
You just elaborated upon. So these are very, very serious issues that you ask. You raise very serious questions. I'm sure Mr. Sahai will be in a better position to look at it. But the fact is, you mentioned about the geopolitical. We remember a couple of years ago, this led to a major diplomatic issue between India and Canada,
right,
and almost created a lot of issues between the two countries.
The envoys were sent back. You remember those hectic parleys right outside?
Yes, and also if you remember when Mr. Trudeau, the then Prime Minister, was in Delhi for the G20, a lot of things were reported about the cold shoulder reception, all that. So I think we have moved past that, and the fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation has investigated, they have said Indian authorities, and of course you mentioned about the Niger. We'll have to wait and see how the Indian authorities move from here, because the US has made it clear that they want to extradite the criminals or the people who are into it. So we'll see how the process
But Mr.
takes
Prasad, you see, I do want your viewpoints on this particular aspect. For years, there have been these whispers about this nexus of cop collusion, politician, police, prison, the entire gang ecosystem. Has this Operation Hardball, exposed something deeper in Punjab that has long known, but we've struggled to prove it? How important is that, the indictments, when they talk about this particular nexus?
Prabir, this gives you a handle on the issues that we've been talking about. By the way, I am sure many of your listeners would know, and Mr. Sai would also be aware of it, that in the last century, in the 1990s, there was a Vora Committee report which talked about the nexus of criminal nexus the entire system. Mr. Vora was the then Home Secretary who went into it. It was a very famous report at that point of time. So we have moved from there to where we are, and this is something which we need to concern, that law enforcing authorities and the cocoon in which some of these gangsters have been operating, how will they be busted out and they will be smoked out, as they say in this case, Kabir?
Okay. ADGP, what do you make of this, sir? If jailed gangsters, they're allegedly issuing instructions from inside the prison walls, I mean, give the viewers a sense about where is the system actually failing. Is it inside the prisons? Is it the policing? Is it the intelligence gathering? Or is it a combination of all of this which is at play?
First and foremost, I think I should compliment FBI and the government of USA for having done such a neat and meticulous investigation for a large number of years against all odds, and piecing a nature of evidence which is generally unimaginable has been seen in the history of criminal investigation only a couple of times. So that is from where we start. Now, the nation states have become too small for the organized transnational gangs in the ecosystem which they operate. They are also able to create ecosystems. By that I mean that we are able to use the diaspora We are able to use some logistical groups. We are able to use recruitment agents, supposedly recruitment agencies, of which we had seen a couple of plane loads coming back to this country. And this is on the one side. On the second side, the failure of the Indian state to just basically scratch the superficial level. I don't think we have even tried one single investigation where organized transnational crime has ever been handled. We have never crossed investigation beyond a single case. Happened, and you'll find absolutely nobody who will give you a fair idea of how things have been happening. That's the second point. The third and very critical point is that prisons happen to be the last point of the criminal justice system, which means having taken all that effort, painstaking investigation, judicial trial, literally anything and everything, what we call in normal parlance also incarceration. What does incarceration mean? Basically, you are cut off from rest of the world for whatever you have done and whatever capability you carry. I remember of a cyber criminal who was not allowed to touch a computer while he was on parole. So that is the scare which the ecosystem carries for people or for criminals who
But
have
then I
used
must
that
ask you, ADGP, I must understand, I'm acting as the devil's advocate here. From an investigator's perspective, isn't it really difficult to establish this collusion against serving or former officials inside jails, this police, prison, gang nexus? It's a difficult task to bring that. You need solid proof to put something like that on the table, don't you?
See, what has happened over the years is that we have slowly moved to digital investigation. So the component of digital investigation, physical investigation, and circumstantial evidence. So we are generally moving towards digital investigation. Now, what we feel in this country that Sabarmati jail, you do something and it will remain unknown. I remember of a case, I think way back in 1996, and it was a national security case, wherein the American satellites, they gave the exact imagery of something what was happening, and that particular exercise by the Indian government was aborted. So if we behave like ostriches, and we feel that lots of things remain unknown, it is not that way as it stands now. And a multi-year, multinational investigation where they are getting deep into logistics, into recruitment, every single documentation, stitching it together to finally give you a picture of an organized crime which is transcending continents, which is transcending countries, which is transcending crimes. Where is human trafficking and cocaine and killing all enmeshed into one? And that different gangs operating in such a coordinated and a seamless manner. And that Danda gang is operating on the logistics part of it. From British Columbia to your Los Angeles, California, all that area, one fellow is operating on cocaine. See, the point is how the financial thing is being handled, how the diaspora is getting misused, and how this whole connection is being together by somebody. There is some brain behind it. Whether it is Lawrence Bishnoi, whether it is Danda, whether it is somebody based in British Columbia, whatever it is. But 3 federal indictments clearly mean there is a huge amount of work which has gone in.
Absolutely. Nobody's taking that away from, the FBI and Operation Hardball. And you're absolutely right. More than the arms and the cocaine that has been recovered, it's more about the financial trail. It's all about the digital assets that they have in their domain. And of course, these voiceover devices that are being used allegedly from inside the jails. I can see Huda Zariwala is with us on the broadcast. Many thanks, ma'am, for taking out the time. What's your assessment here? These US investigations, they're talking about extortions, they're talking about contract killings, international drug trafficking. These gangs, from your assessment, how have they been able to evolve? We were talking about how they've been able to adapt whilst being incarcerated. And that's something, mind-boggling. You're inside a prison and you've adapted to what the prison can actually offer for you. A much wider crackdown. Do you think that's also on the cards, given these 3 indictments that ADGP and, Mr. Prasad have been talking about? Hudaji, can you hear us? Well, it seems like a little bit of a technical difficulty. Should I repeat my question, Mrs. Ariwala?
Yes. Yes, please. Good evening. I believe I lost my connection there. Could you please repeat the
Yeah,
question?
we
Thank
were
you.
talking about how these criminal organizations and these syndicates have evolved from within the walls of incarceration.
Right. Well, good evening to everybody. Obviously, how these gangs have been operating, at the behest of, everybody that is involved, it is beyond comprehension because we're talking about two countries that have seen their relations, obviously scarred because of this, whole assassination attempts. And interesting thing is the recruitment. It is being done online. A lot of these student organizations become a part of it, a huge, massive part of it. This whole gun culture, this whole gundagardi culture. It is something that needs to be addressed at a much deeper level. I'm especially concerned about the youth here, the youth
Yep.
in Punjab, the youth outside Punjab for that matter, everywhere else where people get influenced, plays a huge
That's a
impact.
good point
And
because
then-
Operation Hardball, Ms. Dariwala, also specifically points out about how
Yes.
social media is being used. How this
Absolutely.
picture of being a patriot and a nationalist is
Yes.
being put forth, and that
Right.
actually influences the youngsters. That's a good point.
And absolutely. And another point that I seem to, have a problem with is when you talk about cinema, when you talk about Bollywood movies or even movies down south, these movies glorify the whole gangster culture. This
Yep.
is something that has a huge impact. And, Canada, UK, these are places where a lot of Indian diaspora ends up staying, I mean, they stay there for generations and generations. And we can't see this happening. I mean, you're talking about a gang that literally operates from the four walls of the Tihar, a gang where, that had such a huge nexus. I remember when I gave, certain media bites to independent journalists during the whole, if you remember the whole Lawrence Bishnoi, Salman Khan, incident that took place, a lot of people actually asked me, not to speak openly against this. I kid you not, the actual words were, kal ko तुम्हारे साथ क्या कर दें, you never know. This is how fear mongering works. This is how, I mean, these gangsters are literally glorified. They're behind bars.
All right, all right.
We know for a fact that the
That's a
Janta
great
is safe
point.
from them. But then
Um,
again, why the fear? Why the fear?
Yeah.
Public needs to understand that they need not worry about anything because the concerned authorities are taking due cognizance of the matter. They are fulfilling their responsibilities. And if by any chance these responsibilities do not seem to be fulfilled, and if we in fact do have a reason to fear, then obviously this is a question on the relevant authorities,
Okay.
whoever the, authorities that are involved in making sure that these people stay behind bars, that in fact these crimes are not carried out.
But staying
So
behind
the
bars
thing
is not
here,
the
we're
problem
talking
here.
about,
What is being done behind the bars is actually the major and the bigger problem that needs to be taken a look at.
is
Mr.
actually-
Prasad, I'm going to come back to you, Ms.
Absolutely.
Dariwala. Let me bring in our other panelists as well. Mr. Prasad, you see, right at the beginning, you said that geopolitical dynamic being sour between India and Canada is something of the past now. Now that the RCMP has come out with this, statement about the Nijjar's killing, but indictments, do you think this will trigger a much larger crackdown here back at home, or will this just remain limited to what's happening outside, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in British Columbia, or will this actually turn into investigations, hardcore investigations here back at home as well?
I mean, I'm sorry I lost the later part of your question, but what I was trying to say that the fact is India needs to handle it very carefully. We are part of the international treaties, conventions. We have to honor all those things, number one. Number two, remember, this is, of course, the RCMP and FBI work together. Of course, Indian authorities have also played part. And do not forget, there's a larger police organization called the Interpol, which is always supposed to keep
Yes,
track of such
that's right.
international calculations. And organized crime is not new. The question is, what we have seen increasingly, apart from the fact that, as has been put out by my fellow panelists, of this glamorization of how is it possible that technology which is available to criminals inside incarcerated atmosphere is not denied. I have heard reports when I was covering crime 20, 30 years ago that people talked about putting in jammers. I mean, forget, they may be using human couriers to send their message across. System is somewhere is compromised. And I'm sure people who are in law enforcement are aware of these pitfalls, are aware of the loopholes. How is it that we are not able to plug those loopholes?
That's a good question. I think I want to take that same question to, ADGP Sahai. Sir, immediate reforms have to be taken a look at. You pointed some of those loopholes out yourself. I mean, if we are to stop organized crime from operating behind bars, we'll have to talk about technology, we'll have to talk about prison management, maybe reforms when it comes to accountability. So immediate reforms, Mr. Sahai, what do you make of that?
See, immediate reforms, if you have to control the prison personnel, see, somehow the prison department feels that they have nothing to do with the criminal justice system and they have nothing to do with police investigation and judicial trial, and these people have landed in jail and now they are in their custody, and whatever the nature of relationship is transpires. So that keeps on happening. And again, the nature of investigation done there and nature of investigation being done, when we see lapses in a prison in this country, is piecemeal. I don't think anybody from 2016 till 2026, we are getting opportunity to do that. Let them do a very clear-cut investigation into Sabarmati jail. Let it be only limited to Lawrence Bishnoi and nobody else. And before Sabarmati jail, wherever he was incarcerated in Delhi or whichever place. Let them attend to only that. See, if you don't do it in one specific case, you are not able to build a case study. You are not able to build a use case. And then you come to the technology part of it. See, technology today, if you enter one key on your laptop or on your phone, I think you are caught in endless ways. How does it so happen that they are able to get through the airwaves, they are able to get into VIOP protocols, they are able to get into variety of things, and not only these huge gangsters, even people like Darshan and Prajwal Ravanna, you name it, you have it. So if it is compromised to a level of Prajwal Ravanna and Darshan and variety, hundreds of names I'll give you, inclusive of Delhi politicians at one point in time.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, on the Libra scales, we're weighing on one side VIPs and politicians, and on the other side, you're talking about a hardcore criminal and a gangster.
It is the same system. It is the
I
same
agree.
system
I agree with you, sir. I'm not discounting that particular point.
It is the same system which is getting compromised.
Yeah.
It is the same system which is getting compromised. And let me tell you with all amount of clarity, that the expertise in technology at the usage level, at the delivery level, at the monitoring level, and at the accountability level, I think lots and lots needs to be done in both the Indian policing and the Indian correctional justice.
Okay. I'm running out of time here. Zariwala, I'm going to come to you for the final comment here. You know, even as we wrap this segment up, many are saying this is just another report, nothing's going to happen. So what is the actual cause and effect of Operation Hardball for all the things that Mr. Prasad has pointed out in terms of geopolitical dynamics, for all the things that ADGP Sahai has pointed out in terms of what needs to be done and what is actually happening behind bars, the actual cause and effect and what's going to happen in the days to come?
Okay, so I feel 2-3 points over here. I'll quickly sum them up. First of all, the financial tracking, a thorough financial tracking needs to be done to combat, all these extortions, arms trafficking, and all of this, illicit activities that are happening. And then we need to ensure, like my previous panelists also mentioned, that there's sufficient, communication barrier between these prisoners and the world outside. A transnational task force needs to be put into place, wherein these syndicate networks that operate across different states, different countries for that matter, a coordination thoroughly should be done between the NIA, the National Investigation Agency, and the international intelligence agencies. That is how you can combat, anything that can happen in the future. And a very important point, I feel, should be the intelligence sharing between different platforms. So if we expand the, real-time cross-border intelligence databases among the state and the federal police, these units can help preempt the retaliatory violence and contract killings. And of course, correctional facility overhaul needs to be done for, these reforms are very important because they require separating the high threat offenders from the general prisoners. These offenders really need to not be able to influence the prisoners inside the cell as well.
Essentially, Operation Hardball has done the mammoth of the task. It's a multi-year probe that has already been on. And it has brought a lot on the table, but still there is clearly a lot of things that still need to be done. And
Work
if
needs to be
Operation
done.
Hardball has exposed anything, it's that organized crime no longer respects borders, and perhaps neither do the networks that protect it. The investigation is still
Absolutely.
unfolding. The allegations are quite serious, and even a fraction of these charges, if proven, it raises uncomfortable questions about policing, about prisons and international crime syndicates. And the crackdown, it seems, has just begun. We leave it at that. Many thanks, ADGP Sahai. Mr. Prasad, long time no see. Many thanks for taking out the time. And Madam Zariwala, many thanks for taking out the time. All right then, before we shift our focus here and before we slip into a quick commercial breather, we must talk about that sinking feeling that we've been facing, because another monsoon and it's another test for Maharashtra. Maharashtra is in the grip of a relentless monsoon assault. We've got some visuals to show you. It's important that we bring these stories to you. A lot of deaths that have happened due to these, the monsoon mayhem and fury as well. From Mumbai to Thane, from Palghar to the Konkan belt, torrential rain has triggered flooding, disrupted transport and claimed lives across. The IMD has upgraded its warning for Mumbai to an orange alert now, and even as